Welcome back to the I Don't Want a Divorce podcast. My focus is saving marriages in crisis. And no matter what your marital crisis is, I've got a book for you. I have written a specific plan of action for you. There is my spouse, and of course you can find all these on my website, davideclarkephd.com, Clarke Vinny. My spouse wants out. Your spouse has dropped a bomb on you. I'm divorcing you. I have a series of stupid, lame, bogus reasons. Maybe I have someone else. It's just awful. What do? You need a strong, tough love plan, and that's what I've got here. It is not the typical Christian approach, because the typical Christian approach is wrong, lame, passive, and gets you divorced. This will empower you and give you the best chance to save your marriage. I destroyed my marriage. Your honesty would say, Dave, and I talk to folks across the country, men, women, I committed adultery. I've been an abuser. I have ruined my marriage. I made financial mistakes. I've never communicated or met needs. I denied my spouse sex, whatever it is. I destroyed my marriage, and now my spouse wants out. They have a legitimate biblical reason to want out. Okay, what do? Dr. Clarke has a plan for you too. I've seen many of these marriages be saved. You can avoid the classic mistakes, and you can take the right steps, and you have a chance to win your spouse back. And our bestseller, at least these days, Enough is Enough, How to Leave an Abusive Relationship. If you're in a relationship with an abusive spouse, could be a man, could be a woman, what do? You buy this book. And really, if it's a narcissistic abuser, they rarely change, you get out. Not divorced. God may guide you down that road, but this will at least get you out and empower you. Now, I also have a podcast series on each one of these 3 books. So the books cost a few bucks. They're not expensive. You can go to the website for those. Also go to the website, davideclarkephd.com, Clarke Vinny, to access the podcast series on each one of these books. So you can just, by the titles, you can tell I go through. There's 10, 12, 14 podcasts on each book, and that can be helpful to you as well. And keep in mind, and I'm doing more and more of these every week. In fact, 70% of my practice now is over the phone. It is phone advice sessions. Arkansas, Kentucky, California, Illinois, Ohio, Texas, Australia, Canada. Look, even across the world, we're doing all these phone advice sessions for 45 minutes. I can get the background. You pay with your credit card. It's easy. We set it up through email. Just email me, davideclarkephd@gmail.com, Clarke Vinny, and we will set it up. And you pay with a credit card just before I talk to you. We schedule it. I'll get the background, the history. I'll give you a plan of action moving forward. So if you think that would help you, it's not ongoing therapy, it's phone advice. But I'll give you a solid biblical tough love plan of action that will empower you and hopefully save your marriage. If you've been divorced and you're crushed and you're trying to recover, well, then you might want to talk to Dr. Clarke about that too, and that'd be fine. Now, I'm asking you, this is up to you, of course, but if you want to help us, the team here at davideclarkephd.com, to help marriages and help those who've been divorced, then subscribe to my podcast and frankly, my YouTube channel too. And share these podcasts with people you know who are in crisis. Crisis is what we do. There is no crisis after 35 years that you could present to me that would throw me off or go, wow, that's really bad. I'm not sure if I can help you. No, I've heard it all. Nothing would bother me. It doesn't bother God either. And there's a way out of it. Now let's continue today with my series based on my brand new book, I Didn't Want a Divorce. Now what? Today's topic is how to manage your ex. Now, this is part 1. Of course, we're going to have part 2 next week. Wouldn't it be great to never have contact of any kind with your ex after the divorce? Man, what a dream. No matter the circumstances of your divorce, he has wounded you as no one has ever wounded you. But you have children with him. So obviously you have to deal with him. There's no choice. How you do that is key. I want you to expect your ex to be difficult. That isn't a newsflash, but please expect it. After marriage, there'll be no difference. I'm making the assumption that your ex is a difficult person. It's a pretty safe assumption. A good relationship with an ex does happen, but it's a rare commodity. Why'd you get divorced? Because you didn't get along, because there were real problems. Well, that's not going to change. What's much more common, almost the rule, is an ongoing battle filled with anger, hurt, resentments, and childish games. So surprised that your ex is difficult, that's why he's your ex. Whatever type of person he was before the divorce is the same type of person he will be after the divorce. He didn't change during the divorce. He's not going to change after it. So I want you to expect the worst. Some spouses feel like, wow, after the divorce, it's over with. We're not going to be fighting all the time. It'll be better. Now, it won't be. Your ex's selfish, abusive, and sinful behavior will take many different forms. Here's some possibilities. He'll show up late to pick up the kids. Your time means nothing to him. And if he can stick it to you, he'll do it. Or he's just plain selfish and doesn't care. Half an hour late, what does he care? You had plans, who cares? He'll keep the kids longer than scheduled if it suits him. Again, he doesn't care about you. Changing plans at the last minute, classic. You got the whole thing set up. You're going to get a break from the kids. He's going to take them. Boom, he changes it. Bad-mouthing you to the kids, also classic for an ex's behavior. He still wants to win. He has to look better than you. Not contributing enough financial support. A lot of these dirtballs will bet that you're not going to have the money or don't want to hassle with taking him back to court as he shorts you, in terms of child support or alimony. Trying to buy your kids love, the Disney World dad. Breaking promises, lying, ranting and raving on the phone, email, or text about the divorce or what you're like and blaming you. He'll ask you to do chores and errands that he should do. He's selfish. Or she is. Of course, and classic, especially if it's the dad, no help with the kids' homework. When he's with them, homework goes to pot because he's too selfish to do it. Now, this isn't a complete list by any means. I'm sure you could add to it. There are many potential reasons for this kind of abusive behavior. His desire, let's say your ex is a guy, his desire to get revenge for how you hurt him, pay you back, even though he's the one that ruined the marriage probably. His desire for power and control, that's the narcissism if your ex is a narcissist. His desire to win by alienating the kids from you. His desire to make you miserable because he's miserable. Or he's just a mean, abusive dirtball. Look, some people are. In fact, more than some people are. The key is management. The key to your ongoing relationship with your ex is to deal with him in a smart, strategic way that accomplishes these goals. Protects you, protects your children, and limits the pain he can inflict on you. Now, he's going to try. And you don't get out of all the pain, but you can limit it, I think, with my strategies. I call this whole operation managing your ex. It's a lot like handling a wild animal at the zoo. In fact, handling a wild animal at the zoo is a lot easier than your ex, but there are some similarities. No matter what you do, he's a wild animal. He's going to be trouble. He's going to be unpredictable. But your careful management strategy keeps him from doing harm to you and the kids and others who have to be around him. Here's my zookeeper management protocol. And again, you can get the whole picture, and I didn't want a divorce, now what? How to communicate with him. As much as possible with your ex, you communicate by text or email. You don't want to be on the phone with him, and you don't want to talk in person to him, and you know what? You don't have to. These forms of communication, text, email, are more impersonal and provide more protection. And you'll have a record of his communications if you need it for some court situation, or to show your kids what he's like. Now, he'll try to talk to you in person and by phone. You can ignore those efforts. You're divorced. Divorce means you can communicate with him any way you choose. And you choose text or email. No court is going to require you to talk to him in person or on the phone. You don't have to. Stick to the divorce agreement. This is critical. Many spouses, especially ex-spouses, especially ladies, make this mistake. Follow the divorce agreement to the letter. If you make exceptions, your difficult ex will take full advantage every time because he's selfish. You will embolden him to want more and more concessions. I saw a divorced mom recently who had given her ex whatever he wanted for a year after their divorce. If he wanted the kids at a certain time, wanted to change the deal, she kept doing it thinking, well, I don't want problems. Our marriage was full of conflict. Maybe he'll just be nice and he'll appreciate my efforts and things will work out. No, he just wanted more and more and more concessions. She should have known better. When I talked to her, he was asking for outrageous concessions. He wanted them Thanksgiving. He wanted them Christmas. She'd given too much. It's like raw meat to a lion. Don't do that. I told her in my compassionate way that it was her own dumb fault because she had been giving him too many concessions, too accommodating. She was able to set new limits on him, but it was a lot harder than it should have been. When you give in to his demands and allow him to act outside the divorce agreement, you lose respect and leverage. You are weak. You are passive. You're being a doormat, and he'll continue to treat you like a doormat and wipe his feet on you. Don't appease. Don't compromise. And don't give in when he's nice to you. He's only nice to you to get what he wants. Divorce means you don't have to do things his way anymore. Thank goodness for that. You only have to do what the divorce agreement states. Now, you may get to the point in your relationship with an ex, not maybe a difficult one, but okay, when you can be reasonable and you can make concessions and you can kind of negotiate, okay, but early on, never take that approach. Stick to the agreement. Now, when he breaks the divorce agreement, what do? Notice I said when. It's not going to be if, it's going to be when he does. He will break the divorce agreement multiple times, pretty much whenever he feels like it. When he breaks it, refuses to pick up the kids on time, refuses to give the kids back to you at the appointed time, refuses to pay you what he owes you, whenever there's an infraction and a violation of the divorce agreement, you record that violation. That's something you might have to use legally. And again, you can show others, especially your kids, here's what dad has done. You note his communication flaunting the agreement and your statement supporting it. This is evidence your attorney can use if needed. All right, and every time he breaks the agreement, tell the kids what he's done. Not to trash him, just to tell the truth, because he's going to blame you. It's always your fault. You have to fight back by saying, kids, here's what dad has done. Dad said this, dad did this. Now, if he consistently holds the kids and won't give them back to you for hours, don't hesitate to call the police. I had a client of mine, very sharp lady, miserable husband, miserable ex, selfish, adulterer, cheater, abuser, narcissist. And one day she had some pretty important plans for the kids. There was a special event happening, and he decided to hold the kid. He would not release the kids to her. She was at his house. He refused. She was smart enough. She took her divorce agreement with her. She called the cops. They came. She showed them the agreement. He had to give the kids back to her. It was a thing of beauty, and he never violated that agreement again. It was embarrassing to him, and he realized she was going to call his bluff. See, if she hadn't done that, he would have waited another hour or two, given them back, and he would have done the same thing every single time after that. Now again, if I've heard this complaint once, I've heard it a million times. My ex promised to take the kids, but at the last minute changed the plan and left me hanging. Has that ever happened to you? I'll bet it has. They love doing this. You love your kids. You know you do. Love them to death, but you need a break from them, a regular break. You have a life, you've got friends, you've got things to do. So always, always, always have a plan B in place. Every time your ex is supposed to have your kids, all right, have a backup plan so that when he doesn't come through, you are not thrown off. After he's changed the plan, it's a sweet moment to be cherished when you text him, too bad you'll miss being with the kids, but I have a backup plan, so it's all good. I'll still get my time off, and then sever the connection. Oh, he'll have a fitty, absolute fitty, because he didn't get what he wanted, which was to torture you and make you suffer. He'll be furious. These are times to treasure when you stick it to him. Divorce means you don't have to tolerate his selfish, controlling behavior without providing consequences. Now, in the next podcast, I'll continue talking about how to manage your ex. There's a part 2 because there's a lot of information here, and I want to make sure that you're managing your ex the most effective possible way. Again, for all the information on divorce recovery and dealing with your ex and dealing with your kids and healing and forgiving and moving on, get I Didn't Want a Divorce. Now what? If you're not in this situation, I bet you know someone who is, and it can be a very helpful, practical book. So until next time, Dr. David E. Clarke, PhD, signing off.